Super Mario Party is now finally back onto our YouTube channel at long last. After about a couple of weeks delay for all that stuff due to the forms of other Let's Plays we are still planning. Like, I'm still carry on doing Sonic Lost World for the Wii U at the moment, but even then, that's as far as I can think about it. So, anyways though, yeah, hey, what is up ladies and gentlemen, I'm Sonic the Hedgehog. And I'm Pinkie Pie here, hey everypony and everyone else out there, and welcome back for some more yet again for the Like Stealth and Maxi Toys videos. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to more Let's Play of Super Mario Party for the Nintendo Switch. I believe previously on Super Mario Party is the fact that we did manage to win through the minigames mode by going through Squirrel Off, and especially noticeable with the minigames we have not played yet. So as a result though, we haven't played that much, we have not missed out on much of the minigames, I'm presuming, so even then though, today for this video, especially noticeable and tomorrow, that we might actually get things started with showing you guys Toad's Rec Room. See, even then though, as far as Toad's Rec Room as far as I'm concerned, as you can see here, that there are 4 objects that has been shown up. Like, for instance, there's 3 on the left, and the one on the right is actually these bananas, because the main emphasis on the forms of Toad's Rec Room is that if you purchase those 2 Nintendo Switches, it does have you some pretty cool, you know, advantage for all this Nintendo Switch systems. Because of this, we'll jump right in straight off the bat. So, but again, those are the 4 mini games you're actually going to be playing through. But we're going to be showing off 3 of them, not all 4 of them, because, well, one of the 4th games that we can actually get into, like, as you can see on screen, we got ourselves Mini League Baseball, Shell Shocked Deluxe, which is a sequel to Shell Shocked from Mario Party 2 / the Top 100, Puzzle Hustle, and the 4th and final game here is Banana Split. And as you can see on the Banana Split minigame, this minigame forces you to use 2 Joy-Cons, and since then, that the other 3 does allow you to able to play on TV mode, luckily. But unfortunately for Banana Split, it's only on the, well, let's just say 2 Nintendo Switches handheld mode. So if we're trying to press the button on the right, it won't let us go in here. Because if you see on the secret styles, that as you can see, it tells us what the actual system is capable of. See, for Nintendo, in Banana Split, it is not able to actually handle in TV mode, or tabletop mode, or the, well, just to set down, because even then, only 2 Nintendo Switches can do a lot of work. Because of that, though, thanks to the forms of Nintendo Treehouse Live, back in about a year ago, did showcase off the forms of Banana Split, and fundamentally enough, however, though, Pinkie Pie, I'm pretty sure enough, though, is that not a lot of people seem to able to show off Banana Split, I don't think. Oh yeah, because of how the fact that in order to actually get to, you know, fully experience the Banana Split minigame is that you have to buy, you know, 2 Nintendo Switches, of course, and you have to force to able to pay for about, let's just say, £500 or more. Jesus Christ, that's quite a lot of money, don't you think? Yeah, it's probably so. We would love to able to actually invite Stuart over, but because he's busy on the forms of Breath of the Wild still, so even then, no, there's not much to say about it here. So, yeah, let's just get on to this first video of Toad's Rec Room videos, and that is, of course, as you can see on screen, we are playing Mini League Baseball. So, before you start this mini game off, is that you can either choose between 3 innings, 6 innings, or 9 innings. So, for us though, let's go for the longest game of the bunch, which is the 9 innings. So, even though, time for play ball action. So, basically in this minigame, as far as how Toad's Rec Room thing as far as it'll go, basically you can able to actually just, well, depends on what team you're in, you know, it's kind of like your forms of Mario Superstar Baseball, or in this case, Mario Super Sluggers for the Nintendo Wii, but except the fact that this is on the Nintendo Switch, and basically, for I've noticed this, is the fact that it looks a bit more basic as far as the actual stadium as far as it's concerned, because obviously we don't have stage hazards or anything like that, and especially noticeable with how the fact that the only, thing you can able to play this is that you can either just manage to play this on 2v2 like we are playing right now, or you can able to do is one-on-one. Steve Nintendo, you can able to do it from here. So yeah, you probably get the idea for this. Steve Nintendo, that you can also play this on tabletop mode, which if you play this on tabletop mode, that depends on how many players you're able to play through. Specifically, like 4 of them. Basically, it gets like a different perspective between the tabletop mode or anything like that. So yeah, that's a very cool dynamic in theory, because of the fact that Toad's Rec Room, usually that particular mode utilizes the 2 Nintendo Switches all at once, so that way it could do loads of things. Like, for instance, in the forms of you know, as you can tell from Banana Split, is that particular Toad's Rec Room game utilizes 2 Nintendo Switch consoles, meaning that it might be a little bit jointed from the actual, like, screen to screen, basically. So even then, note that, well, we'll talk more details onto that whenever we get to the very end of Toad's Rec Room. So even then, that's as far as I can say about it here. So, plus, I think that mode was actually ridiculously short for I've noticing this, so hopefully, though, we'll show that off and during at some point whenever we finish up with Puzzle Hustle and some sort of like that. So yeah, you get the idea. So today's day is the forms of the 15th of June in 2019, and there's quite a lot of things to talk about for this point, guys, because due to the forms of about a couple of days ago, that recently we got ourselves the Nintendo E3 announcements. Like, I think I already mentioned about this briefly in my Sonic Lost World Wii U Let's Play and stuff like that. So even though, before we mention about that, however, though, yeah, you can obviously take control of the batters, and especially noticeable with the fielders, which, by the way, the fielders, well, one of the players can able to do the actual pitching, and another player can able to adjustment to those little red pads to able to signify as the outs. So, like, let's just say, if we get the baseball into the actual, I wouldn't say the baseball, per se, but it's more accurately like a plastic toy version of the mini baseball ball, because if you get into these red pads, that actually, represents out. So, of course, you can able to actually move those with the Joy-Con's analog stick, of course, so you probably get the idea for that. So anyways, though, I think that's as far as we can say with the forms of, well, aside from that point system, like, as you can see on this little, diamond, shape, golden parts right there, that actually represents, like, if it has one of these gold diamonds, it actually represents, well, single, and if you get 2 of these, gold diamonds, it represents double, and 3 is basically triple, and if you manage to get yourself your perfect shot, it'll give you a home run. So even then, though, and vice versa, though, really. You can also just manage to able to fake out the actual, like, the baseball, shots from that pitching right there, because, well, sometimes you can either just do a very powerful shot, or you can able to actually decide to fake out a little bit, and just trying to able to trick the actual opponents and stuff. So, yeah, you probably get the idea how this goes. So, yeah, let's just get into the forms of the most important aspect about the forms of, for the sake of the actual commentary and stuff like that, and that is, of course, Nintendo E3 announcements. So, first of all, you know, the first important thing of the bunch, it would have to be, of course, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, but in forms of more information about the DLC content. Like, for instance, we got, oh, really? They got 2 points from the start. Lucky them. And of course, the player we're going to be selecting for this video today, especially notable for the rest of Toad's Rec Room, is Yoshi today, because we haven't exactly played as Yoshi since, I think last time we select Yoshi, it was from River Survival, although I may be wrong, but even then, we might as well find this out until then. Yeah, that's probably true for a doubt. So anyways, yeah, with that being said, with the forms of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate DLC, not only do we get 1 piece of DLC character, but also 2 of, well, at least the, it gives us 2, brand new DLC characters is about to be coming out for the Nintendo Switch installment of Super Smash Bros., or in this case, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, whatever you want to call it. And those are, Hero from Dragon Quest series, which is actually a pretty interesting choice, because even then, we haven't had the Square Enix fighter ever since Cloud from Final Fantasy VII, since you know, Super Smash Bros. For the Wii U / Nintendo 3DS. So even then, now we got ourselves 2 Square Enix characters at long last. Even though we could have hoped if Sora were able to make it, but I really don't know, because it's all depending on the forms of the actual Disney decisions. So even then, I can't really tell that if it's going to be happening, but even then, I won't find things out until... Well, at the moment, for the time being though, Sonic, we've only got ourselves about, like, 2 pieces of DLC left until the actual DLC, Fighters Pass will be completed on Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, of course. So, yeah, you probably get the idea. I think it will start to happen until whenever the next Nintendo Direct will be on September this year and stuff. So even then, as to be expected. So, but I digress. So, yeah, enough about that. So, yeah, not only does it able to reveal the hero from the Dragon Quest series, but it's also they did reveal the stage for the Dragon Quest series, which I don't know exactly what that stage is going to be called, but we'll find things out until, well, thankfully it does have its release date until, let's just say in this summer, between either, well, it won't be June, but it might be somewhere between August or next month. Even then, we'll find things out by then. Although, kind of thinking about it though, Pinkie Pie, we've already did order ourselves the Fighters Pass for the actual Super Smash Bros. Ultimate already. So, yeah, because we've already got Joker from the start. From, well, we didn't go it on day 1 though, however, though, because we only had to wait until, whenever we got back from Tiana's, you know, hotel vacation or something like that. So, yeah, you probably get the idea for that. And, also, not to mention with the Dragon Quest characters gonna come onto Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, which I'm quite happy about it, because even then, because, you know, we had, you know, 2 Square Enix guest party characters for Super Smash Bros. Game. But also, it's probably my favorite of the bunch with the E3 announcements for Nintendo. Banjo and Kazooie are finally back in the forms of the video game industries since, well, almost about during a decade ago, actually, since Nuts and Bolts from, you know, for the Xbox 360 and all that stuff. Despite the fact that most people seem to not overly keen on Banjo and Kazooie's redesign in Nuts and Bolts, but I'm very glad that in the forms of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, it's going back into the actual classic industry for, you know, the classic model for Banjo and Kazooie, which, to me though, I was really hyped about this, because even then, we have not seen these 2 duos for such a quite a long time. You know, it's kind of like the same thing for how it does it on, I would say, by the forms of, it's hard to tell, actually, because even then, I know for the fact that it's been such a quite a long time since we actually did looked upon some other video game departments as far as I'm aware, but even then though, so it might be some conception. So even then though, as far as the actual movesets for Banjo and Kazooie, as far as I'm concerned, they did manage to perform a talent run, and especially notable with the Golden Feather, of course, and even the forms of the Final Smash they included is the Mega Mighty Jinjo from the, you know, for that particular moment in the final boss in the original Banjo-Kazooie game. That is top notch. Yeah, especially noticeable of how the fact that it's mostly exciting, because now they're finally making an appearance during the actual Nintendo console ever since during a would count as Game Boy Advance or Nintendo 64. Well, usually it's far from between the two, because Nintendo Switch is basically, it's like the console and the handheld at the same time, because, you know, you can play it on TV for as a console, or you can able to play on the handheld whenever you want to go, on during the likes of on the handheld mode. So you probably get the idea for that. So anyway, and as far as the release date for Banjo and Kazooie on the DLC for Super Smash Bros., well, it will be somewhere around during an autumn. So it's stuff like September, October, or November. I'm really hoping for October, because even then though, that way I can get a whole lot of experience able to play as Banjo and Kazooie, because, well, we haven't played as Banjo and Kazooie ever since back in 2010 on the Xbox 360 version of Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing. So even then, I'm really hyped. That way we can able to actually play those 2 duos again, so I'm very happy about that. Yeah, me too, because I heard so many great things about the forms of Banjo-Kazooie games, basically. So, of course, that we'll able to actually just able to retry our Let's Play of Banjo-Tooie next year, because Banjo-Tooie, as far as the actual game is concerned, on the Nintendo 64, especially on Japan and North America, that game will be about 20 years old next. So, jeez, I can't believe the day itself has gone really fast, doesn't it? Yeah, I know that, Sonic. You've already explained about this several times already. So, yeah, and as far as for the actual stage they're going to be included in, well, obviously it includes Spiral Mountain from the original Banjo-Kazooie game, the one time you have to come across into that bridge to Grand Tortoise Lair, which I think is really awesome. In fact, they've already done that on during the stage builder, but even though they now managed to announce there's going to be a full-fledged level of, you know, Spiral Mountain, of course. So even then, that I'm very appreciative about that kinds of stuff. So even then, I'm really looking forward to able to try those 2 DLC characters after all in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And let's just say this right now, we are definitely excited to able to do the Let's Play of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate at some point in next year. Well, they're all depending on the forms of other current Let's Plays we are still doing. So, yeah, at least we're excited about this. So, you know. And another thing they did announce for Nintendo's E3 2019, and that is more infos about Luigi's Mansion 3. And as a result of that particular game, they did include, they obviously did mention about this briefly of the Polter G00 briefly during the likes of it, not only for the sake of Wikipedia and stuff, but it's also the fact that that's a part of the final smash of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. So as a result though, however though, they did manage to able to get a lot more functions with the Polter G00. So even then though, because of this though, one of those movesets you can now do this time around though, even though if I've seen the gameplay footage of Luigi's Mansion 3, well, not only for the sake of the actual trailer, but it's also the fact that with the E3 gameplay demos here and there as well. It plays exactly like how it does it on Luigi's Mansion 2, but except the fact that, or Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, if you live in North America, although the biggest difference is obviously this is on the Nintendo Switch now, as opposed to the Nintendo 3DS, of course. So, but obviously it still has this little stained light feature, just like the remake of Luigi's Mansion game on the 3DS, and heck, even with Luigi's Mansion 2 as a result. It's also the fact that matter is, though, is the fact that I feel like the actual ghosts themselves are somewhat alright. I mean, forget it. But even then, no, that's besides the point. And even then, what I thought was really odd is the fact that originally that game was usually called in Luigi's Mansion 3. Apparently it's going to take place in somewhat a hotel, because according to the forms of the actual E3 trailer, then it does manage to take place in somewhat a hotel. So yeah, you probably get the idea for that. Alright, we're doing not too bad for this point right there, and we got 2 points since, I don't know what round we're in when we got 2 points from that. So yeah, you probably get the idea for that. So Donkey Kong, don't mess things up. And as far as the release date's confirmed for Luigi's Mansion 3, well, it still managed to say 2019. I'm hoping it won't be delayed or anything like that, because, well, I'm just pretty damn excited to be able to actually try out Luigi's Mansion 3 on the Nintendo Switch, because we are literally waiting for that for quite a while. But even then though, let's just find things out and during at some point in a follow-up direct or something like that. I'm not 100% sure, but even though, we'll find things out in the future. So, anyways though, another thing that I did talk about with the fronts of Nintendo E3 2019, and that is of course the new Animal Crossing game, which is now usually gets its name, and it calls it Animal Crossing New Horizons. And originally that game was supposed to be coming out in June this year, but sadly it's going to be delayed until 2020. So, you know, it's kind of like the same thing for how it does it on Final Fantasy VII Remake, that you also have to wait until 2020. And back in June about a year ago, that normally Kingdom Hearts 3 was supposed to come out in 2018, sorry. But, you know, it's going to be somewhat going to be released until, or in this case delayed, until 2019. I think the only reason why Animal Crossing New Horizons on the Nintendo Switch will be delayed until next year, I think it's probably because they need to able to work on with some more features and all that stuff, or some more timing development and all that stuff. But even though we'll find things out by then. So even then, I'm sure many people out there, for those of you who are a big fan of Animal Crossing series, which I'm sure many of you are, I'm actually looking forward to that title. But for me, Animal Crossing is not my kind of thing, I have to say for this, brutally honest here, because I've already, well, I did manage to play those out, but it doesn't really get my interest, even then because of the fact that, well, I get it, it's the forms of the life simulator, but it's just that, well, I don't normally play those games that much. Well, I've heard it, they are very, good looking, though, but it's just that it's not my cup of tea or anything, so, I'm sorry, I'll just give it a pass. And another thing they did mention about the forms of Nintendo E3 2019 stuff, and that is new information on The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening remake for the Nintendo Switch. Not only that, because there's on new release dates on that game as well, even for the actual remake. So let's get on to these new features first. Well, first of all, I'm very happy about the forms of the inventory system of the remake, because the problem I had with the Game Boy / Game Boy Color version, specifically the original releases on that game, it just feels kind of tedious whenever you're trying to switch over between those different weapons all at once. Like, if you really want to jump through those little gaps in between, well, you need to constantly pause the game and just trying to switch between those different item inventory. But I'm very glad it's not as noticeable this time around. Well, you might still able to actually switch between them, but thankfully though, you can able to actually use as many of those buttons as much as you like. Like, for instance, we've already noticed about the fact with the uses of the shield, which allows you to press the R button, I'm presuming, and using the B button will allow you to able to slash the sword, obviously. So I'm very happy about the inventory system. It's been slightly better than the forms of how it does it from before. At least that's what I think it is. So, and also another thing that you actually point things out from Link's Awakening Remake, and that is you can now actually customize your own dungeon designs. Even though it feels kind of identical to the ones in Mario Maker, because in Mario Maker you can able to create your own 2D Mario levels and all that stuff. And this time around though, for Link's Awakening Remake, you can able to customize your very own dungeon layouts. Even though you can also manage to place the actual enemies or treasures or anything like that, which I think is actually a pretty nifty feature, especially because we haven't got ourselves a little bit of a custom-made Zelda thing for quite some time potentially. So at least technically in Triforce Heroes for the 3DS, that you do able to customize your own costumes as the forms of one of those 3 links or something like that. So it might be with a possibilities or something. So I digress. So, and as far as the release date of Link's Awakening Remake, it's going to be released until at some point in this September. In this case, across the whole entire world, it's going to be released until the 20th of September, which I'm definitely going to pre-order that. Because obviously we've already completed Link's Awakening DX for the Game Boy Color on our 3DS. So I think it's about a good opportunity that we can able to replay that game again, but this time with a much more improvement Nintendo Switch version. I mean, nothing to be bad about the forms of the original version, it's just that the inventory system feels a bit too tedious, and especially just annoying at times, especially when you come across into the forms of like, if you really want to get the power bracelet equipped, then if you come across into so many rocks later down the road, I got very annoyed on the original version of the game. So, at least I'm happy about the forms of the remake is going to fix that tradition. So, yeah, you probably get the idea for that part right there. So, and I think that's about it for that particular game. And of course, another game that we are mostly excited for quite some time actually, and that is of course Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games Tokyo 2020. Why are you saying that? I have no idea why for this point, Pinky, because I think they actually call it Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games, even though it might be a little bit of a confusing name ever since back in 2007 on Beijing 2008 Nintendo Wii game and stuff, / Nintendo DS back in 2008, but seems that somehow it's going to cause a Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games Tokyo 2020 just to make it a little bit of a nonsense of confusion or something like that, even though that's, I don't know, So, anyway, yeah, sorry for the lack of dialogue for this point, especially noticeable how awkward the commentary is at the moment, because we're just so excited about the forms of several other E3 announcements and all that stuff recently, because, well, although speaking of such, they did briefly, showcased any of the gameplay footage of Mario and Sonic at the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games on the Nintendo Switch. And those are some new events, such as, well, obviously we already know about skateboarding since the first announcement of the debut for that game. But it's also the fact that we got ourselves even more new events, stuff like rock climbing or sport climbing, whatever you want to call it, and also karate, and also surfing, which I think actually makes me feel like really hyped about this. I'm really hoping that baseball might be included, but I really don't know if that will be the case. Although, speaking of baseball, we are still playing baseball right about now on Super Mario Party, of course. Yeah, kind of weird though, but hey. So, as far as the actual other stuff they actually included, stuff like, well, we obviously mentioned about the events, of course, and also they're bringing back some of these old events here and there as well. And thank God, they're now finally bringing back Dream events. About freaking time since Sochi 2014 Olympic Winter Games. Even though, because in Rio 2016 Olympic Games does not have any of the Dream events. Instead, it's been replaced as dual events, which they're okay. I mean, nothing that remarkably special about it, especially that there's only 3 of them, as opposed to the forms of like all of them, or even plus the variations on the 3DS versions, not to mention. So, at least I'm very glad that the Dream events are now finally make a comeback on Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games. So, at the moment, they only have like 3 of them at the moment. Stuff like Dream Racing, Dream Shooting, and heck, even with Dream Karate. So, then aside from that, we also got ourselves the 8-bit kind of mode-ish, kind of. But I don't know what that's going to be for though. But even then, we'll find things out later on. Until the game is about to be released until at some point in this year's November. So, yeah, just like in any other Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games from the past, like for instance the original Beijing 2008 Beijing Olympic Games for the Nintendo Wii, as well as London 2012 Olympic Games on the Nintendo Wii, and even Sochi 2014 Olympic Winter Games on the Wii U. And also same applies by the forms of, well, let's just say in October for Mario and Sonic at the Vancouver 2010 Olympic Winter Games, of course. And I think that's about it, obviously. And obviously they did finally bringing back the online mode in Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games, which I'm very happy for it because, just like the Dream events, since, Sochi 2014 Olympic Winter Games, of course, for the Dream events and the online features and all that stuff. So even then, I'm very happy about these things are now bringing back. And even then, it's about time to be able to finally play the Olympic Games for the Mario and Sonic retrospective for the online experience. So, for the Summer Olympics anyway, because we already had one from Sochi 2014, of course, back in 2013. Originally, though. And, aside from the others, though, most notably with, obviously we had some more information about Cadence of Hyrule, of course, and especially notable with, Pokemon Sword and Shield, which is alright. I mean, not my kind of thing, I'm afraid, guys. And I think we should probably explain about the final thing we could able to explain about the forms of this year's E3 announcements. And that is, we have ourselves a sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is about to due out on the Nintendo Switch. Even though, just like in the forms of how it does it on Metroid Prime 4, and especially notable for Bayonetta 3, it might be in development at the moment. So, in this case, we have to wait for quite a long time, just in case if we get some time, before we're able to actually play the majority of the Zelda games, of course. Well, most notably with Link's Awakening Remake, of course. So even then, that way we can able to finally get a chance to play on that. So yeah, you probably get the idea for that. So I think that's pretty much as far as we can say about the forms of E3 2019 Nintendo thing, as far as we can able to actually say about this. But even then, I would briefly mention more on that until whenever I get back into Kingdom Hearts recording session, I'm assuming so anyway. So anyways, though, let's get this over with. Let's get ourselves the last strikeouts. And what are you doing? Come on. There we go, finally. So anyways, I think that's pretty much as far as I will get for the Mini League Baseball. So even though whoever gets the most points will able to actually win the game. So yeah, that's about it with Mini League Baseball. It's a nice little distraction. So even though, now let's move on to the next mode of Toad's Rec Room. Shell Shocked Deluxe. Oh boy, I'm actually excited for that.